Hello and welcome back again to Green Valley Zoo, episode 19. And in the last episode I did announce that I wanted to do a water creature next, or a water animal, but I wasn't too sure what I wanted to do, and I decided to go with the crocodiles. I had an idea for the habitat. As you can see, I had the area. I knew where I wanted to build it, and I had to think what was going to be suitable to go in there. And so I had this idea of doing a very long glass-fronted water section all the way along this path here, as you can see, opposite the African wild dogs. And I thought the crocodiles suited it because they don't need huge amounts of water. They do a lot of just just sort of hovering in the water rather than swimming. And I thought they would suit having a just a long thin strip of water to go in. And so that's what I decided to do. And it was a bit of a nightmare, I'll be honest. This is the first time I've tried to do a water segment like this. And to this day, I still don't know how I managed to do it. And I don't know what I was doing wrong. As you can see here, I'm putting the water in and that's as high as I can get it to go. And I don't know why. I put these extra bit of barriers in to connect it with the land better. I tried raising it, as you can see I couldn't. I think that's actually because I left the water in, so that was my bad. So I just did a little test on the grass here. I thought if you just plonk these glass barriers down, you could then fill them completely with water, but you can't. So if someone could please tell me what I'm doing wrong here, I'd really appreciate it, because I still don't know quite what I was doing and how I managed to correct it. But as you can see, there's a bit of a time jump there. I did manage to sort out the water level, but I don't know how. I really don't know what I did to make it work, but it works. So I'm happy, and hopefully next time I'll figure it out quicker, because that did take me a bit of time off camera to get that working. So my thinking behind it was I wanted the water at the front of the enclosure, and then I wanted a nice strip of land at the back. I wanted a few beach areas where the crocodiles can go in and out of the water, and I wanted a pathway at the back of the enclosure as well. As you can see, I've already put that in. I wanted a raised pathway because I didn't want any big barriers or anything at the back. I wanted the pathway just slightly raised, because obviously the crocodiles can't climb. So I knew all I would have to do at the back is just put a line of rocks along the front of the path, and that would be enough. So that that's what I did, and it works out really nicely. I wanted to give them a small area here, an indoor area, not viewable by the public, but just somewhere that they can get into. So my thinking here was that I made this little ramp out of a roofing tile, and that allows them, as you can see just about, to get in and out of this small area here. Again, it took me a lot of fiddling with the land around this end piece to get it flat enough and open enough for the crocodiles to be able to traverse it. It was a bit of a pain here with, obviously I'd already put the path in, so that my landscaping was limited without having to remove the path, but I worked around that, and in the end it works again. In the end everything turns out okay, but it just takes a while to get there sometimes. And obviously there's an awful lot of detailing in this episode which I did off camera. I hope you like the format of my videos. I show you the main things of what I do. A lot of the small detailing I leave out, and I do them in the real-time bit. I think that works better because a lot of the detailing is boring, because it's very repetitive in a lot of these, a lot of the habitats. So a lot of the time what I'll do is show you the structures, so any buildings that I do, obviously the landscaping of the enclosure, and then a few bits of the detailing. Then I'll do the real time and show you all the extra bits. I know certainly when I've watched other people do these videos, that tends to be what most people do, because you don't want to see me placing down 300 rocks and 400 trees. It's, you know, it's boring to do, and it's it's a bit boring to watch as well. So yeah, so hopefully you're okay with that. As you can see here, I'm just playing around with this building at the end. I had an idea with the crocs. So I wanted the theming of certainly of the building to be a little bit Asian. I don't know why. I'm not really sure where these crocodiles actually come from. I didn't even check, to be honest. I know you certainly do get Asian crocodiles. And so the theming of the building at the end here was I did want it to be slightly Asian architecture, and you'll see how I achieve that. And I think it does work, and it looks really nice actually. I'm really happy with this building in the end. As you can see, I've just put a keeper hut in there. I didn't bother with a staff room because there's one of those just across the pathway for the African wild dogs, so they can use that one no problem. But I do like to have a keeper hut per habitat. I think that works better. Don't want the keepers to have to share the keeper huts. I just sort of made this roof up as I went along actually, and it works out quite nicely. I tend to do that with my buildings. I don't always go into it with a plan. I just start plonking stuff together and see what shapes emerge and what shapes I like the look of. Like here, I didn't know how to blend these two bits together, so I just keep playing around with the different pieces, and eventually I settle on a shape that I like. And that's how I build. I don't always plan too much in advance, to be honest, and that doesn't always work. Sometimes, you know, things end up as a disaster, but it's how I find easiest. Yeah, it works for me. Luckily, more often than not, it works out pretty good. So you can see I went with the red roof, and that's the main bit of the Asian influence. I don't know if it's meant to be, but it just looks a bit Asian to me, the red. I do put some detailing on the white walls as well, which is definitely an Asian thing. Some of the red pieces that I've used elsewhere already, I think I used them in the Jaguar restaurant. Right, so we've jumped on a bit now. Lots of rock work to be done in this enclosure. Lots and lots of rock work. So this is very basic along the back here. I just wanted, just a very basic wall of rock, which I then break up with a lot more detailing with rocks. And I also end up doing a lot of this in the water at the back where the land drops down. I found that the water is quite dark, so trying to see the animals in there from the pathway wasn't great, but I found if you put these rocks in the background, it really makes it a lot lighter, and you can see the crocs swimming a lot better, which is sort of the point of the game. There's no point having animals if you can't see them. So yeah, very simple technique, all of this, just completely randomly plonking rocks down, not really overthinking it too much. I'm sure some people out there are far better at planning these things, but I find I like the random feel of just keep on plonking stuff down until you think it looks good. And obviously you've got these little piles of rocks that I put all along the front. They work so well. They really do. They're probably the best piece in the game, I think. They really are, especially if you are doing this sort of thing. The difference it makes, it just looks incredibly realistic. Just obviously making sure that they can't escape, because there's a big gap at the end here. I end up doing a lot of rock work at this end, and I put in a food stall as well between that the gap just behind these rocks, between the rocks and the stairs. I wanted the small areas here to look like beaches, hence the sand going down. And I do a load of rock work on those as well. I had a problem here because this crocodile got stuck, because I put the rocks down, and the rocks have quite a large area of influence by the looks of it. So another little jump here. I think I cut a lot of rock work there, because you didn't need to see all of that. And so I wanted to decorate the water, the glass at the front here, because obviously the glass itself it doesn't look good. It's too flimsy. There's no way it would actually support that much water behind it. So you really need a top and a bottom to this sort of water barrier. So that's what I'm doing here, just a simple layer of concrete along the bottom, which I then just duplicate and move upwards for the top, and then I put some nice big sturdy pillars to cover up the white pillars of the glass. And again, it's a very simple thing, but it really makes a difference to this bit of the enclosure. It looks fantastic actually once you've done it. I probably left too much of this in. You didn't really need to see me doing this, did you? But there we go. I had to leave something in, otherwise I'd have just cut everything out and I'll just do the real-time segment, and that'd be a bit pointless. So yeah, I guess you have to watch me do some of this boring work, I'm afraid. But I do, I thought, oh there we go, you can see a bit more of what I've done at the rock work at the end here. I am just copy that straight up. Nice quick and easy way of doing that. And then some of these massive sturdy pillars really adds a nice bit of weight to the glass here. Really makes it look like it could actually exist. Yeah, nice. Right, so the crocodiles themselves, I do really like them in the game. I think the animations on them are fantastic, and they've definitely got the behaviour of crocodiles correct. Crocodiles do hours and hours of just sitting in water, not moving, not appearing to be alive. They just sit and hover, sometimes with their noses just above the surface, sometimes they can even be below the surface. And yeah, it's what they do, and they do that in the game, which is really nice to see. Not great to look at for the for people. People want to see animals moving about generally, but you can't make the animals do that. So yes, as you can see, a bit more detailing on the building. You can see I've put some windows on, and a lot of these red trims and the red stone around it as well. You see a lot more of that in the real time. Now here I'm working on the water. I really wanted the water to be full of living stuff. I wanted it to look alive and ancient. So I had the idea of creating a small building piece using this matting and then some other random plants, some of which were water plants and some of them weren't, and covering the entire floor with this. But it's a bit of a pain when you do it as a building piece, because you have to keep on duplicating and then raising it up to the right level, and obviously it does end up looking duplicated as well, which I didn't want. So in the end I actually I realised that this was going to just be too much effort to do, and so I deleted them, and I do it exactly the same as this in a way, just without the building. I just place the pieces individually, and that way I can do it a lot quicker. As you can see here, just moving these pieces around, covering the entire floor. And then all I can do is just grab each plant that I want and just work my way through the area and place stuff down, and it keeps everything nice and random. I don't like copying and pasting if I can avoid it, because you want everything to look different. It doesn't. I get that you do it because you've got to do things faster sometimes, but it's sometimes it's very obvious when you've copied and pasted stuff. So yeah, so this is what I do. I just plonk this stuff down, and then just a few more bits along the back just to make sure it's as covered up as it can be. And this piece, this square matting piece, is so good because obviously it's not meant to be used underwater, but it doesn't matter. You can get away with it. Well, I think you can anyway. I mean, you may think different, and you may think it looks terrible, but I think it works just nicely, especially when you then do this and you just cover it up with actual water plants. It just creates that effect of lots of stuff growing. Whether it belongs underwater or not really doesn't matter. It's all about the look. And so I go with some of these reeds. Again, I don't use the other reeds because the other ones aren't traversable. And this papyrus. And papyrus is a water plant, although it doesn't grow submerged. It grows in water, but it sticks its head out the top. And obviously the reeds do as well, but I think they look good underwater. This stuff is fantastic. What is it? Underwater hydrilla plant. It's such a nice looking thing. It's really mossy looking. Yeah, really like that. So I cover the bottom with that as well. Yeah, the papyrus looks really cool. It looks cool in water and it looks cool out of water. So I'm just going to use it everywhere, I think. More of the eelgrass you can see here, just filling in some of the gaps. Again, with any of this planting, it's all about layering. Just keep on just putting stuff in until you think you've gone far enough. Then I wanted to get some dead stuff in there, so I go with some of these dead logs, just a few plonked around, and these things look fantastic. And in this sort of environment, a lot of crocs do live in swampy areas in the world, and that's the sort of look I was going for here. Obviously dead stuff looks swampy. That's whether that's true or not, I don't know, but it's what our minds tell us. So that's what I went with here. And I wanted a few of these logs as well. I had to be careful just to make sure I didn't stop the crocodiles swimming, but luckily I could put them deep enough in the water that the crocodiles could still swim over the top of them. And they look great. It just looks like dead stuff that's fallen in the water. And it's these little details like that that really make an area look finished and look complete. And it makes it look natural, even though obviously this is a completely artificial area. But it is the sort of thing that you see in zoos. They do try to create a natural looking environment for the animals, try and make them feel at home. So that's what I was going for there, and it worked out very nicely. But this was when I realised how dark the water was, and so I had the idea of trying to cover up these back walls with these rocks, and you can see instantly there how light these rocks are when they're in the water, and it really shows up the crocodiles better. So that was my thinking behind this. I didn't want to cover up the beaches too much because for start the rocks aren't traversable very well, so I did have a bit of fiddling around with the beach areas to make sure that the crocodiles could still swim on and off. You can see there, just moving one rock there allowed the crocs to suddenly use that beach again. So you do have to be very careful, particularly with that one very large round rock. I found these flat ones were pretty good. They were fairly traversable, so I used them along the tops here just to finish it all off and blend it in with the land. But luckily because they're flat, the crocs can actually walk over them a bit, certainly enough. So the beach here, these large ones are okay actually. It's the next one along. You can see the fourth rock in, the really big round pillory looking one that seems to have a very large area of influence when it comes to traversing. And so I kind of avoided using them as much as I could. I went with the big flat ones and then these smaller flatter ones, and I'm really happy I did actually. They all look really nice. So yeah, I was very pleased with that. And again, I used the small rubble ones here because again, in the water, luckily, the crocodiles can still get over them. On land, they can't but when you submerge these down in the ground and underwater, the crocs can swim over the top, as you can see there. So yeah, they're perfect, and so I use them all over the place here. Now we're just coming to the end of the time lapse now, but there is quite a lot extra to show you, so I will be right back. Okay, so here we are back with our crocodiles, and well, you can see this is the bit at the end of the enclosure. So I've done a lot of rock work here, and I've put a little chief beef in, crocodile burgers. Hey, you can see a crocodile and then you can eat one. Why not? So I've just buried this in the rocks here. You know, ferns. I put some of these mangrove trees on here. I thought they looked really nice. I've put some of them actually in the habitat as well. I love the way all their roots come out. In the wild, these would grow sort of at the edge of swamps, and all these tree roots would actually go right into the water. But I think they look good like this, clambering on the rocks as well. So let's go round this way. So here's the enclosure on the left. Obviously I've put some education signs around as expected. Let's see if we can actually find a crocodile. I know they're in there somewhere. I love the look of it, I do. I'm really happy with how this has turned out. I think as you come around this corner, I mean, you'd see this, you'd really want to go and check it out, wouldn't you, and have a look at what you could see in there. I think having these pale rocks at the back have helped. That's made a real difference, because you really see all the foliage in the bottom here. I've actually got a reed sticking through the glass there. That's not so good. Let me just move that. That's no good. Here we go. Easily solved. Cool. So yeah, it looks really nice, much better than I expected, if I'm honest. At the moment I can't see any crocodiles in the water. Let's keep going, there might be one somewhere. You'll probably find they've just been fed, so they're all up on the land having their breakfast. Yeah, okay, nothing, fine. Let's just get up here and have a look. They've got to be in there somewhere. Oh, there's your keeper. So what is new? So like I said, the mangroves coming into the water here, and I just dotted a few along the front as well. Not too many. I didn't want to block the view, but you know, just to give that impression that there's some natural stuff growing. Oh, here we go. Here's a croc coming down on the beach. So you can see with these beaches, again, I did put some reeds up here and some of the eel grass. Just blends everything together nicely, doesn't it? So I did that on all of the beaches, as you can see. Put some enrichment around, obviously just a few more bits of foliage, some bracken and some logs at the back here. Bit more enrichment. Oh, another crocodile. A couple of big fallen logs, as is my trademark. Dead tree. Nothing too much, just enough, you know, just breaks up the pattern of the rocks. Obviously the traversable area is an issue, so you have to be careful, but I've made it so they can come right through here. In fact, I will show you the area. It's fairly thin in places, but they can at least get to the entire habitat. They can use all of the water and all of the land, and that's what matters. Oh look, he's playing football. Even crocodiles like football. Brilliant. So at the back here, I haven't had to do too much really. Just finished off the rock work. Obviously, you know, a bit of foliage here and there. Made these little education boards. I quite like these. It's so simple. Just a little wooden surround and a couple of wooden legs at the back, and I can now use them wherever they're appropriate. I think they're really really effective. Obviously I don't know quite what I'm doing at the back here. I have got an idea, which I think is going to involve a large lake in here, and there'll probably be some walkways coming off of this, but that will be in a couple of episodes time, I think. Coming down here again, unfinished, but that's the, you know, again, basic rock work around here. This building you didn't see completely in the time lapse. I'm really happy with how this turned out. So these are just basic windows. You've got the round ones up here, and then this lovely stencil work. I used this on the Jaguar restaurant as well. I think it works really well here, and I think the combination of the red roof and the red windows, and then this strip of red stone that I put around to be a kind of a border between the white limestone and then the grey stone at the bottom. I do like to have this, and this is the first time I've used this changing colour stone beam, which you can make whatever colour, and I've really made it a very bright red. And I wasn't sure if it was going to work, but actually I'm really happy with how that came out. And on this side again, I love the angles that I found in the roof here. I think it all comes together really well. And these beams as well, this is a pillar and then a little support beam, very simple. Didn't know what to do with this blank wall, and all I did was stick 3 of them along there, and it just fills it in a bit. It's not too over the top, but it looks good. I really like it. Is it holding up the roof? Probably not. It's probably just for decoration, but I didn't want to go over the top. I didn't want to hide this. I did have an idea that I might cover this with some greenery, but I didn't want to hide the stone pattern because it's a lovely looking bit of wall, that. So I really didn't want to lose that. Another education board at the end here. And then I guess the biggest change would be in this building, because you didn't see any of this. So again, I just continued this red stonework all the way along here. I had to put this little supporting wall in here just to hide the details back here. There's a bit of a hole here, so I just stuck a couple of these poplar trees in. I think they work well there. And then down in here was a bit of a problem because it was a real mishmash down here. So what I did, I just filled it in. You'll see if I go through here, you've got the keeper hut, but you can see how messy it all was in here. Bits of wall and bits of ceiling, and obviously the barrier itself sticking in. And then on this side it was all rocks and bits of landscaping that I couldn't get rid of. So in the end I hid it all with some extra walls on all 3 sides, and the ceiling up here as well I just put in. And then on this side I quite like what I've done here. I had this corner and there was some land sticking in here from the landscaping, so I hid it with a couple of stone pillars and made this little sort of wooden ladder up here, and I've made it like a storage area. So I put some crates, and then I've just stuck a few of the enrichment items up here, like they've got them in storage, and they're just, they're waiting up there ready to be used out in the enclosure. Got a light in here as well. Let's just put it to night time. Didn't do a lot of lighting. Just a couple of lights inside there, not too bright because the animals would want to be able to get inside in the dark. One outside so the keeper can see where he's coming and going. And I think that was about it, because the windows on this building light that up pretty well. And then just a couple of lights scattered along the front just for the people out on the pathway to see where they're going. Again, I didn't worry about a light here. I thought the light from the shop itself was okay, and I didn't really do anything inside the enclosure, to be honest. Didn't really seem appropriate to have anything in there, so I just left it like it is. So yeah, I have to say this enclosure was a lot of fun. It was a challenge, and I still don't know how I managed to get the water to work and do what I wanted it to, but I did in the end. And that's the secret of the game. Just persevere and keep trying until eventually everything comes together. And it has, and I'm really, really pleased with the enclosure. I like the shape of it as well. I'm quite pleased with how that came out. I wasn't sure if having it long and thin like that would actually work, but hey, I think it sort of matches the shape of the animal. I mean, crocodiles are long and thin, so their enclosure is long and thin. I know that's a bit of a tenuous link, but it is what it is. And the building as well, I'm really pleased with how that came out. It's a huge building really for what it is, but I think it kind of fits. So yeah, don't mind that at all. So yeah, really happy with that. Please let me know what you think, and I'm always happy to get feedback. I'm now going to move on, and got an idea for my next video. It's going to be another animal, and it's going to involve water again, and that's all I'm going to say. Hopefully you can join me again for that. But until then, thank you so much for watching and listening. I hope you had fun. I certainly did. So hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.